Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast episode 166. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, joined as always by Mr. Dan Rodriguez. What's going on, man?
I'm here and I'm pretty tired. So
trying to wake up with some monster.
This is the second one of the day. So
what?
Damn.
Wow.
Man, I'm like 300 plus pounds. This stuff is like water to me. So I'll get there eventually.
Nice.
Yeah.
As always, Mr. Travis himself, looking sharp. How you doing, brother?
Clunky. How you doing, friends?
Tired as well, you were telling me? You guys, look.
Well, it's 8 a.m. here, but I'm alert, man. I'm ready to talk about games. That's why we're all here.
I know. That's why you get up in the morning, right? That's what it's all about. And joining us for the first time, Mr. Neo Game Spark. You know him well. I'm sure our community does. Good morning, man.
Good morning, everybody. I don't have any Monster Energy drink here. It's also not 8 a.m. over here, so I'm a little more energetic than Travis, but I'm really happy to be on the show. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. So one thing we like to do when we, have a new guest is just talk real briefly about kind of your history with gaming. So kind of where you started, what got you into it, and what kind of, what your the things you like most about gaming today, kind of. So where did you first pick up gaming? How long you been doing it?
So I'm a child of the 90s, born in the early 90s. So
Okay.
I grew up playing Super Nintendo. That was the first time I ever held a game controller in my life. I remember my dad had come home just randomly with the Super Nintendo console, and we had Mario and Monopoly. And you would think out of the two games that
Monopoly was fun on Super Nintendo. I remember
exactly, bro.
Yeah.
You would think out of the two games that a child would play, gravitate towards Mario because jumping little man makes boom, boom, boom. But I was like, no, Monopoly was a lot of fun. That was one of the first board games I ever played, and it just naturally clicked. And then from there, got into the PlayStation 1 and 64, and here we are 20 plus years later. We have games in 4K. So yeah, gaming's it's literally been a part of my life since before I could even run, man. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
But have we topped Monopoly for the
well, there is no Monopoly 4K nowadays, so I don't know. Like, people are talking about this Halo Infinite. I don't know, man. Like, see me in some Monopoly. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, I think is it Ubisoft that has the rights to all the Hasbro games right now, and they
on the 360 they had the whole collection where they had
that recent Monopoly. That recent Monopoly game is not good. I don't know if you guys have played it, but it's surprising how bad it is, to be honest. But yeah, it's
nice. Yeah, how can you mess up Monopoly that bad?
How do you mess up games that weren't even games? They were games before games. How do you mess that up? Just take the we're gonna be here all day.
All you have to do is animate the board game, right? It's not that
literally, yeah.
It's like one of those things I can't even explain why it's so bad, but like if you play it, you'll be like, wow, this is like bad. I'm like surprised how bad it is.
Wait, you said it was Ubisoft, right?
It's the Ubisoft one, yeah.
Didn't they do the same thing with Tetris a few years ago? They came out with like a really bad Tetris game, and everyone was like, how do you not? There was something about Ubisoft and Tetris. I remember.
Right, that does ring a bell a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they made a bunch of the Hasbro games, like the Battlefield, or is it called Battlefield or Battleship, and like all those like traditional board games.
Actually own that game. Yes.
I think I own all of them, and they're all pretty bad. Like I'm kind of surprised that they're as bad as they are. But Connect 4 and what have you.
Nix is starting already. It's I don't know. It's too early for these kind of jokes, Nix.
Okay, if you'll let me interject for 1 second.
Of course.
The game that Ubisoft came out with was Tetris Ultimate. This was back in 2014. And reading from the article, unfortunately, as the company works to fix its broken lineup, yet another one of the games has shown issues at launch. This time, Tetris Ultimate, it prevents players from slotting the iconic shapes into lines properly.
It's not the point of the you have to do.
How do you mess that
point
up?
of the game?
That's the one thing you have to do in Tetris. Oh no!
They found a way. They found a way.
I'm gonna buy that game now. I really have to see that. How did they mess that up?
Oh my god, that doesn't even make any sense. I don't know how that happens. But chat, good morning. Good to see everyone. I see Matt, Walt, G-Man, Nix, Joe in the house. Miles, what's happening, man? So Neo, you have a pretty popular YouTube channel, and it's kind of going through some of your content. And I remember seeing this. Funny enough, I think before I even knew you on Twitter, I remember seeing your video from last year of confessions from a PS4 owner, which kind of blew up, right? Like,
yeah,
that was a big one. Where correct me if I'm wrong, but it's when you first got the Xbox One X at the time before the new consoles, and you had been primarily a PS4 player, and you kind of, I don't know what the phrase you want to use, but you found some qualities of the Xbox I guess you didn't expect, and now you own. I know you own Series X, S, and PS5, right?
Yeah. Well, what are the odds, man? The paradigm shift. but yeah, just to get into that a little bit, it was crazy, man. So as everybody knows, last year was really rough. Everyone transitioning to working from home. And, like in the beginning, it's all cool, man, because you get some time with your family, your kids, more gaming time, less commuting. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get back into like playing games more consistently. And then I remember I had gotten like a month into it and I had just gotten bored, man. I was like, there's nothing's hitting today, man. Let me see what else is out there. And I remember I woke up one morning and this is I contribute a lot of my problems or continued success, I guess, to the Wario64 Twitter page. I'm sure many of y'all know, tweets out gaming deals. And there was this deal going on where it was like, get an Xbox One X for, I think it was like $150, $200 off. And at the time, I'm thinking that's a pretty good deal. And then it said for $0 down. I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And then from there, it was kind of like a rabbit hole into getting involved in the Xbox All Access program and getting the system. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's try this out. Now, this is my first Xbox console since Halo 4. So from 2012 to 2020, that's a whole generation of no Xbox. And, I'd loved the 360 growing up, but I didn't really like the direction that they were taking the One. But, I'm willing to give second chances. So I got the console and I was like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. And so I was bored. I was like, you know what? Let me play on this console exclusively for a few weeks to see if I like it more than PlayStation, see how it competes. And I ended up really liking it. I recorded a thoughts video, thought nothing of it until the next morning. And I woke up and it's at like 10,000 views. Yeah. I'm like,
damn,
that's weird. And then a few hours later, I get like an ad from Major Nelson saying, oh, great video by Neo GameSpark about his time using Xbox. And I'm like, he's talking about me? Like, I don't know what's going on. And then, it's pretty much history from there, man.
Yeah.
Just getting involved with Xbox and just this amazing community. And here we are almost like a year and a half later, man. Time flies. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think when I looked at it yesterday, it was like, I don't know, I think you're closing in like 800,000 views or something on that video, which is crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's cool though, man. It's kind of neat when something like that happens, right? Because it's rare, obviously, but when it does, it's neat. Yeah. So, well, cool.
The Xbox One was good by 2020. I think.
Yeah. They evolved the platform.
I had that Xbox in 2014, whenever it was. It was.
Oh man,
it was a rough couple years for us Xbox.
you were in the ditches back then, man. Oh, bro.
For real.
We were holding up Titanfall like,
this is it, guys. This will be the one, the holy grail.
And Sunset Overdrive. I got to call it Sunset Overdrive.
Oh,
still
yeah,
a great game.
Underrated.
Great game.
Yes.
Underrated game.
All right, guys. So let me get into what we've been playing. So I know kind of our main topic today is going to be around Game Pass and like how it's helping people discover games they might not have normally, because there's been a lot of great content thrown out there lately. And I think a lot of the games I've been playing have been Game Pass games, but I got to give a shout out to Travis real quick. So I did, as we joked about last week, I did pick up Ace Attorney Chronicles on the Switch. I have never played Ace Attorney before.
That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. Good job, Travis.
I've never played an Ace Attorney. Even some people told me I bought the wrong one, and I was like, well, Travis, knowing his history on the series, did tell me about this and talk me through it. But I don't have a 3DS. I don't like playing games on my phone, like mobile games. So I was like, look, this is on the Switch. It's new. It'll at least introduce me to the series. So I started playing it. I'm not very far, admittedly, but I will say that I'm enjoying it so far. And a lot of people love this series, so they're going to be like, well, of course, why wouldn't you? But I'm not a lot. not very big into a lot of the modern Japanese style games. Like the JRPGs I loved growing up, they're just too different to me now, and so I don't get into a lot of them. But I'm really liking it. The writing's really good. It's funny. It actually makes me laugh as I'm playing through it. The first case here, and yeah, man, I'm looking forward to putting some more time into it. But I'm glad you recommended it. I did not expect to like it. I figured I was going to buy it, play it for a little bit, and then sell it. No kidding. But I think you know, I'll keep going through it. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And then after that, you can go on your Xbox and download the Ace Attorney trilogy, and then from there, nothing.
Well, we were Travis and I were talking about that because you were telling me about the trilogy. Is the trilogy on Xbox?
The trilogy's on Xbox, but it's the OG one that I'm afraid would scare you away unless you really got invested in the series. So I'm using the new one as a gateway drug. I want you to play Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice because they're my favorite ones. And then after that, if you love the series, then go play the OG trilogy because they're amazing games, but they're also very old and retro, and they have clunkiness to them that isn't great if you aren't already invested. So I would honestly say save those for last if you start really liking the series. So
all right, fair enough.
But yeah, Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice you have to play on the phone right now. They're not on Switch yet. I think they'll port them to the Switch eventually, but they're not there for whatever reason right now.
Yeah.
Capcom's taking their time with that, man, and it's killing me.
I guess so. I don't understand, but
yeah. But anyway, I wanted to shout that out real quick. But Neo, man, what have you been playing lately? Anything good?
Oh yes, man, it's kind of weird, man. I've been all about the roguelikes recently, which is not me entirely. So, we were speaking about this earlier, but I went back and I started Returnal over again. So I bought the game when it came out. I was really excited for it because I love Housemarque. But there was a lot of issues with the game at launch. It kept crashing left and right. So I didn't want to devote any more time into that game than I already did. Because, you know, the worst feeling is like you get an hour into a biome and then the PS5 crashes and it's just like, all right, I'll play something else. So I went back to it. I've gotten through the first 3 biomes. Really awesome game. Fantastic. In addition to that, I just started up Hades since it launched on Game Pass.
Me too.
You know, fantastic game. I actually bought it last year on the Switch during the Christmas sale. Fell in love with it, but you know, just the nature of how I've been playing more on the PlayStation and Xbox as of late. Switch has kind of been sitting in the corner, but now it's on Xbox with all its glorious quick resume greatness and all that. It's a phenomenal game. I just went through the first boss literally right before this podcast. I was like,
nice.
how much time do I got to the I could show up 5 minutes before. Yeah, I got this.
I did the same thing. It was like 9:30 my time. I'm like, I think I can get like a quarter of a run in. Let's go.
Yeah,
it's a very addicting game.
Absolutely. And I'm also, as I speak now, on the final boss of Death's Door. I don't know if any of you guys have played through that yet.
Not all the way.
Oh, yeah, I need to get back to it. I only got to play that first boss.
I'm at the Frog King. That's where I'm
okay. Got you. I'm on the final boss. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but man, the game, so good. Best $15 I've ever spent.
Many people have it as their game of the year right now.
I can see why, man. I can see why.
I need to get back to it. I beat the witch, but I was like, I only had a small pocket of time to try that game, and I was like, all right, I love this. I'm definitely gonna go back and play it, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Man, y'all in for some greatness when you finish it, man. It's so good.
Yeah, I got to get back. We were just saying too many games, man. It's hard.
Really crazy.
But Hades, I just started literally when it launched on Game Pass on Friday. It's the first time I've ever played it. I was. Awesome. I think I mentioned last week I was so close to buying it on my PC like multiple times over the past several months, and I was like, let me just wait, and I waited, and man, it's so good. It's so good. So really enjoy it. I got to Hades for the first time last night. Got him to a second phase, and he got me. So I was like, I got to get back to him today at some point.
Nice. Yeah, I've also been playing Hades. I beat the game on my 5th run. Which
all right, go ahead and flex on the podcast.
Flex a little bit on the Sunday morning.
To be clear, I did play it on the Switch, and
so you kind of had experience with it.
I beat the entire. I think it took me like 20 runs to get a clear the first time when I played it on the Switch.
Okay.
But I got 2 clears, and then I found out the game doesn't really end until you get like 10 clears or whatever, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna save this for like when it comes to Xbox. I'll just wait. So I haven't actually seen like the full ending, but I love the game, and I was like, this is a game I could invest like dozens of hours into. So I'm gonna wait before I go any further. So yeah, I'm I think I've done my second clear like just now.
Nice.
So I'm like caught up to where I was on the Switch, and now it's all going to be new stuff. But
Okay.
it's kind of interesting beating the game after 5 runs, because like I hadn't met any of the alternate bosses for the first boss. I hadn't met my brother, like any of the stuff like in the story hasn't happened yet. And it's like, all right, well, I'm already like out here dabbing on my dad. So it's kind of changed the order that things happen in. And I kind of really appreciate that, because now people are reacting to me differently because I did that first. And so I'm kind of like, wow, this game's like really dynamic the way it switches up the order of events that things happen based on your kind of experience. It's really, really awesome. I will say this though, I preferred it the old way. I preferred it where it takes you a long time to beat Hades the first time, because it sort of intros you to mechanics, and I haven't even gotten the thing where you're upgrading your weapons yet. Like that hasn't even happened for me, and I already got like my first clear. So
I didn't know you could upgrade your weapons. So that's good.
Yeah, they really do a good job at like slowly drip feeding you a bunch of different things to the game, which I think is part of the reason it's so successful, is that it's got a lot going on, but it doesn't overwhelm you with it and go, here's 20 things to remember. It's like, here's one, and then you do like 2 runs, and they're like, all right, here's another thing. And
it's got the carrot in front of you at just the right place.
Exactly.
I think what you talked about with the progression is what surprised me the most, because I'm one of those weirdos that anytime I'm playing a game, I'm thinking about how the hell the developers coded it. And so as I'm playing through it, and all these events are dynamic, and different people appear, and different story elements come in, and you get different equipment and boons and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, so how did they? You just think about how they would have coded all these different things to dynamically and randomly happen, yet be so meaningful to what you're doing at that point in time. It's really interesting to me. So I think that's one of my favorite aspects of it. And the fact that it's very easy to jump in and out of. We were talking about Returnal being like, when you sit down and play Returnal, it's like, all right, I better clear my afternoon, make sure no one's bothering me, because I've got to do one run.
Turn the phone off.
Whereas Hades, it's like you can jump in and out, you can save at any point. And the gameplay is so polished that it's just super, super smooth to just, it's great, man. I see why people were raving about it for the last year. I wish I would have played it sooner.
It's the gold standard for roguelikes in terms of story, in terms of gameplay, in terms of its game design, where the way it like drip feeds you mechanics. And I'm not even at the part where I've unlocked all the mechanics yet. I was technically further on the Switch version, even though it took me longer to do clears and I had fewer of them. So it's just really interesting the way that they set up that game. But yeah, love it. So I've been playing that. I'm reviewing a game for IGN that's going to go live. My review will go live next week, called Recompile. It's a really interesting indie Metroidvania. I just finished it, so I can't really say anything about it, but like I'll have a review next week. And then also been playing that Boyfriend Dungeon, man.
Yeah, man.
I tried that out. It's surprisingly pretty fun game. So
I see. Again, this ties into our main topic, but I think because Game Pass and a lot of people getting to experience that game who wouldn't probably have played it otherwise, I see a lot of people talking about it. Seems to be pretty popular.
Dating sims are underrated, man. Getting that Mass Effect 2 life. I'm saying.
Yeah, see.
But there's nothing wrong with it, though. I'm telling you, there are a lot of good dating sims. Doki Doki Literature Club is amazing. How to Fill Boyfriend. There's a lot of good games out there. Give them a try. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I'm on Ace Attorney, man. Slow feet.
I know. I gotta look. I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just saying people are a little too harsh on that genre because of what it is. But,
I get it.
There's some good ones. Yeah.
That's fair. Dan, I know we joked about Hades last week, so I don't think you're playing that. But what are you playing? Anything good right now?
Not really. No. I'm playing the Valhalla DLC.
Like, nope.
Oh yeah, you tried Siege of Paris, right?
Yeah, it's not good.
I love it.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, they're not even trying at this point.
You're not alone on this one, though. Usually, you may have a take where it's like, "Wow, why does Dan think that?" But I've seen a lot of people say this is some really poor DLC like expansion. This may be one of the worst expansions they've had.
Jesus, really worse than the one where George Washington was evil.
No, that whole game was the worst. So
that was the worst. I was like, nope, I'm done with this. I don't want to play this game ever again.
That actually killed Assassin's Creed for me for like 3 or 4 games. I had to go back and later on and play it. It was This one's got like what they've done with these DLCs is they've introduced these cool mechanics but it's like one little piece of the DLC, which could have been included in the main game, which would have made the main game actually way, way better. Like they have these infiltrations now. They have ways to, like Brotherhood, where you could you would have, your fellow assassins, but it's a little bit different. They're rebels, and you can do these missions. The problem is they're super repetitive. As in, after the third one, I was back at the same exact location with just a slightly different title and one or two different enemies. And I was just like, man, you could have made this so much better. You had the opportunity to implement this gameplay mechanic, where you could have your fellow assassins, because that was one of the best things for Brotherhood for me, is where you can be walking down the street, literally whistle, and guys would just come out of nowhere and just drop their hidden blades on all these enemies. That was a good time. Now this one, it's exactly the same as the main game. It looks exactly the same as the main game. The enemies have a different color shirts, and the story is basically it's basically one big. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just an extension of the main game. It's just like an extra little mission. No. Yeah, and there's no. It's not very big. I feel like Ireland was bigger, and Ireland actually had some different story mechanics that were actually pretty good. The druid stuff, it was actually interesting. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it was interesting. I think if they took some of the parts out of all those DLCs, put them in the main game, and then worked on like some completely different stuff, like they did with Odyssey, where you had Atlantis and you did.
Yeah, see, that was cool. That was cool.
Right, and but it's still tied into it. Those were some of my favorite Assassin's Creed DLCs that they ever came out with. This one's just there.
And this was supposed to be the big one. Like,
this is the games as a service model that they said that we're not coming out with another Assassin's Creed for like 3 years, so we can.
We're screwed. Yeah, so like they introduced these things called what are they called? They're basically they're missions, and you can do them. There's opportunities to have these special little stories or different ways to assassinate people instead of just rushing in and finding the person and killing them. You actually can progress if you find the right path. You can progress into it and have a cool little way to assassinate the person. Like there's a way where you're going through like a reconciliation or something, and instead of just jumping down and killing this guy, you actually go through the whole thing and go through different dialogue that isn't normally there, and it's really cool. They could have implemented these in pretty much every single one of the main story points in Valhalla, but they just went a different direction. It's sad, and they just keep adding like a little bit of like a few skills every DLC. They just add like one or two different skills, and it's mind-blowing to me.
It sounds like minimal effort expansion.
Minimal effort. Yeah, and it's if you've progressed past like 250, in the main story, and if you've done even half of the stuff in the main story, this is going to be super easy because all the enemies don't scale. So I'm basically just running in, and I've got like Mjolnir with Thor's hammer, and I'm just like smashing people, like one-shotting everybody, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And that's on normal difficulty. Maybe it's harder on the harder difficulty, but they do keep adding paid DLC for outfits and stuff. God. So there's tons of that if you really want to look different while you're smashing people. So
Dan, you're living in a prison of your own construction.
Yeah.
I can tell this man's is hurt. This man's is hurt, bro. You can see I'm ready for the one tear to come down.
Dude, killing me, man.
We're out here living in a sea of beautiful games, and you're here insisting on just playing Assassin's Creed. And
here's the thing: I downloaded Hades, and I played 10 minutes of it, and I came to the same conclusion I did before, that I think that it could be an awesome game. I just can't play roguelites, and I'm just not good at them, and I have no interest in those games. And it's nothing to say it's a bad game, but I don't like games that. At this age, hold my hand a little bit. Walk me through, like, what am I supposed to be doing exactly? Because when I played it on the Switch, I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what's happening. I keep dying, which is apparently a good thing. But then what do I do from there?
Yeah.
And I just never really explained to me.
No, it's very figure it out as you go.
Yeah, and that's just not my style. But I love the art style, and I'm glad everybody likes it. That's not for me, man.
Yeah, that's fair. And we say that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to be more careful. I think a lot of people need to be more careful about calling games bad when really they're just not for them, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, there's so many good games that just aren't for me, which is fine. That's why we have so much variety in the gaming industry. It's a good thing, really.
Yeah, lesson in growth.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Tal, let me get to the super chat.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a big super chat, Tal, and I really, really appreciate it. He says, "Thank you, Ains, for your kind words and candor in my time of need." It's you didn't have to do that. You certainly didn't have to super chat here, man. But appreciate it, and it's my pleasure, man. Gosh, I don't really know what to say. But yes, I'm always here. DMs always open. My DMs are open to actually everybody, which is a dangerous precedent, but so far we've been good. So I am always here, if someone needs an ear. So it was my pleasure, man. I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much. All right. I feel for Dan, there needs to be an adult function that just rehashes info.
Yes.
Isn't that what your book is? Your little codex? It's all just
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know. Do you think what game was I talking about? Because Dark Souls is kind of like that. Like the lore in Dark Souls is to be read, right? You have to read the items and descriptions. That's how you get the lore. And I just feel, I don't know, it feels like a small percentage of the modern gaming community is into that. It's like if they expect things to be presented to them that you have to be forced to go through. Otherwise, they're just not interested in it.
I mean, Hades kind of forces you to go through it every time. I mean, that's in my opinion, that's the reason it's a success, is because even if you're bad at the game and you die a lot, dying is still one way to progress the story and to get to the end. Like eventually you have to succeed to reach like an ending. But if you are just really bad, you can almost brute force your way through it, because by the end, you're just a god if you are stacking all those gems and like leveling everything up, and it just takes you longer. That's the path you take. But like I said, I beat it on my 5th run, and I preferred it when it took me like 20 runs to beat it, because I got so much more story. Kind of it felt like I had reached the mountaintop by that point. So yeah. But hey, to each their own.
Of course. I see Joe talking about Avengers. We're not going there, Joe. We're not going there.
No, Wakanda's coming, man.
Say it again.
It said Black Panther's coming next week.
What are the odds I'm wearing a Black Panther shirt right now?
There you go.
No affiliation with Crystal Dynamics.
Are you going to play that DLC though?
We give Insipid Ghost, Luke, who many in the community runs, Xbox Expansion Pass. He adores Avengers. I mean, he has hundreds of hours into it.
He's one of the 3 people I know who play that game. Crazy, bro.
Paul Tassie's one of them.
Yeah.
So it's a running joke in the community that, or in this group that, we just like to give Luke crap about it. But hopefully, in all seriousness, for the people who like that game, I hope the Wakanda expansion is really good. It's, I know Luke said it looks good, but I can't take him seriously with that game.
It actually does look good. I think I was going to review it for IGN, but I just told them, look, I haven't played like any of the Avengers since launch, and I don't know if I'm your guy.
Yeah, I'm good, Chief. I'm good.
Yeah. I have to play I gotta play 30 hours.
I have to play it though, because one of my friends is a huge stan of this game like no tomorrow. And I remember when it came out, like he was like, yeah, we're gonna play this together, we're gonna do this stuff. And I was like, I bet. And he had ended up finishing the game before me, and he was just like, yo, man, I love this game, bro, but there's like nothing to do, man. It's not fun. And I was like, oh, word? Here I am, like halfway through the story. I'm like, I'm gonna put this off a bit.
The story is good though. The campaign is actually the best reason to play that game. And so if this add-on is just like more of that, like bring it on, because the campaign is actually fantastic.
You know what it is? I like the storytelling of the campaign, but I just don't like the way it's presented. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they had this idea for the games as a service, and then they were like, oh, let's do a campaign. So it doesn't feel like it's organic, like you're doing actual missions. It just feels very much so like, hey, these are these type of missions you would do online, but we're going to sprinkle some story over it. So I think that's what's kind of stopped.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. And honestly, having the whole online world looming in the background and knowing that was waiting for me when I finished the campaign, it was like, a detractor. It was like, 'cause
Yeah.
I played Destiny, man. I'm already a prisoner.
Oh, you played
in
Destiny?
that
I
world.
could not tell by the frame posters in the back.
Yeah, like it's like so it's like I already have a game I'm a slave to, and I'm not like Paul where I can just pick all the games as a service games and just make that my entire life.
I don't know if people do that, bro.
Dude, it's because it's his only job. Like he just sits at home and that's his full-time job is keeping up with all those games. So it's like, but yeah, I actually thought that game's campaign was serviceable. If it's more of that, hell yeah, I'll play the Wakanda.
Yeah, so Steve in the chat, who did the review for us, actually said the same thing. You know, he was pretty harsh in his review. I think it's like one of the longest reviews he ever written because there was so much to kind of break down about it. But yeah, I've heard from a lot of people that what's the main character's name again? I forget. I haven't played it.
Kamala Khan.
Kamala. I've heard that she's great as a character. That's what I've heard, and that the campaign is fun, but the rest of it was just a mess.
Yeah, it's just
at least
repetitive, man. I mean, they've added a lot of stuff to it. I mean, they started adding different characters with Hawkeye, and I can't remember what the other exact same character.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on Spider-Man.
Still not out.
Oh, dude! Can you imagine people pre-ordered that game to play as him and look at this, man.
Yeah, it's just I've got a pretty high level Hawkeye character, so it's. But getting to that point was so mind-numbingly boring after the campaign that you're just sitting there like, okay, I'm going to do the same mission again at a slightly higher difficulty. And
is it true what they said? Is it true what they said where they changed it and they made it harder to grind for characters?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's harder, but it's still
more tedious.
Really, really tedious. So it's just like trying to get to that level. You're trying, I don't even care about the skins and stuff. I just wanted to get to a high level Hawkeye where I could, I've got a couple friends that play it. And so I was like, maybe I can actually jump into a co-op game and, play with something with them, but it just never got to that point. And I picked Hawkeye because I figured nobody else would pick him. So I wouldn't have to worry about doubling up.
Well, you were right about that part.
Yeah. He's not great. So.
I don't understand why they would launch two similar type characters back to back. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you want to lead with one and then do a couple more others like Cosmic and then Brawlers and then do another. But it just,
Yeah. Joe, I don't know why you're yelling in the chat. I can hear you. But he said I didn't hear. I pre-ordered for Spidey.
They said before the end of the year. Now I don't know if they meant this year or next year because the way it's looking, bro. We just been looking at that logo
with the movie.
We haven't seen
we got a Spider-Man movie this year, right? No Way Home. We'll probably be around there.
Yeah, that's what amazing and new face in the chat. Welcome, man. Thanks for coming by. It says Spider-Man. New World Order trailer gonna be out after.
That's my homie Jason right there.
Okay, what's up, man? Thanks for coming by. All right. One other thing I want to comment on, and you're not allowed to talk about it really, but I'm in the Battlefield beta. You're not allowed to capture anything from it, not allowed to talk about it. So I'm just going to do this.
This man says, I'm playing the Battlefield beta. It's like,
oof.
Okay.
I'm just going to say, oof.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
that makes me sad.
Don't tell me that, bro.
So I'll have to move on so I don't get my account pulled back, but.
Yeah, what are you going to lose?
Facts. Absolutely. In fact, I'll probably gain some time is what I'll get back.
There you go.
The Halo devs are probably like, no worries.
And top of the spectrum, meet the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, moving on. So let's get into our main topic, guys. I wanted to chat about this a little bit this week because it feels like a good week. There wasn't a ton of news actively this week. We've got Gamescom coming up, which we'll touch on a little bit, but and I know the Game Pass conversation has been covered almost ad nauseum. I get it, but I think it's kind of a good week because Hades, as we've already talked about, has really kind of being on Game Pass again. You've got all these new people talking about it. Plus, of course, it launched on PlayStation as well. But there's a bunch of other games that I think, in my opinion, would have gone by the wayside had it not been for Game Pass. Travis, you mentioned Boyfriend Dungeon. I have to think that would be a very, very small niche title if it wasn't for this. This week, I've also been playing Art of Rally, which is, again, came out last year on other platforms. It's a small developer made a non-licensed rally game, very simple art style, but still beautiful. But the interesting thing about it has no licensing, no real track, car names, nothing like that. But it has real cars, physics, and history of rally racing in it, which is really, really interesting if you're a car geek like me. So that's really good. I saw Omno, single developer game, based very similar, like from what our reviewer said, very similar to like Journey. Kind of just that experience, 3 to 4 hour bite-sized experience, but very moving. Apparently beautiful to look at, beautiful soundtrack. And so there's a lot of these games, and there's several more. I'm sure you guys can think of some too that just have kind of come to the forefront in the gaming conversation or community lately that really have been driven because of Game Pass. And I think I think that effect on game discovery, right? And we always talk about curation because the industry's so big and there's so many games that games just get lost. Tons of games come out that never even really gain an audience. Then some people we joke about Among Us now being this gigantic game. That game released a couple years ago and no one played it. You know what I mean? It just happened to kind of catch fire.
COVID made it catch fire.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of caught virus and everything, But it's interesting to me because for years, Steam has been kind of the pinnacle for small devs. It's easy to get your game on. It's easy to do updates. And it's just where there's a huge community on the PC side, right? And then we've seen some of that move to the Switch. The eShop became a very big place for smaller devs to put their games because they were just seeing a ton of success on the Switch. And it feels, at least to me, and you guys obviously comment, that Game Pass has to be a very attractive option for these smaller devs now, because there's a lot of these games, like I said right at the start, that I think just wouldn't get the recognition at all if it wasn't automatically in front of millions of people who can just download it, try it, and a percentage of them will obviously kind of dig it. So we can kind of take it from there. Open the comments.
Well, the Ascent is the most recent one.
Ascent's another big one.
$5 million or whatever, 5 million copies, whatever
5 million
it was.
Copies.
Yeah, that's just
made by 12 people.
Yeah,
12 people. Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, man. This is good for indie devs. I've always said I'm not really an indie game player, but there's always a couple here and there that are nice to check out. Like 12 minutes when we've talked about it ad nauseum. But it's one of those things that I'm super excited for. I just watched an interview with, I think, William Dafoe and McAvoy. I can't remember his
James
name.
McAvoy.
James McAvoy. Yeah, and I think it was on IGN, and it's shout out IGN. But yeah, there's these.
Just a note. I did send Willem a email from Season Gaming. I didn't get a response, but I tried.
Weird.
Yeah.
Get on the stick, Travis. No, but it looks it's a perfect thing for some of these guys. I think it's maybe it's not a one size fits all, obviously. But you're seeing even with the bigger games, would Outriders or MLB, we saw the success with that, and Sony came out and even said it, that the amount of money just from the microtransactions and stuff that they made is probably ludicrous, and
the most successful MLB's ever been for them.
Right. Crazy. Even putting it on another platform, who would have known? But, that's crazy. The fact it was on Game Pass is just, icing on the cake. So yeah, it's great. I think people will get different value out of, the service. And we've talked about it becoming an indispensable service. I still don't think it's quite there yet, but I think here in 2 years, for sure, maybe a year, once these big first party games start hitting and you're getting that consistent flow of, triple A's, mixed with the double A's, and then we're already seeing the indie stuff. So, once that all just starts flowing together, you're going to have it regardless of where you're playing, unless you're only playing on the PlayStation. And then in that case, well, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But for generally as a gamer, it will hit that point probably sooner rather than later. And that's good for these developers.
Yeah. Yeah, and Beast Mode calls out a bunch of them. So
there you go.
You went right off the bat, Beast Mode. So thank you. But yeah,
Dodgeball
Academia. I've heard that's really good too.
I really like that one. That was one I wouldn't normally play without Game Pass. But actually, so that brings me to a point which I think is interesting, that there's like this emergence now of the Game Pass gamer, where like people like I have friends who are like core gamers. They buy like 2 or 3 games a year, and they ask me if a game is good. Like if they see something on YouTube, they'll be like, "Is this game good?" And I try to guide them. And one of those guys, he's like, "All right, I'm getting the next gen console. I don't know which one. What should I do?" And he was kind of weighing his options. And I said, knowing you and the fact that you like to play games, but you basically never spend money on them, just buy a Series S and buy Game Pass. And he did that, and he's just like, okay, now the only thing I play is if it's on Game Pass, and he's just a Game Pass gamer now. Like his ability to play a game, whether he's going to or not, depends 100% on if it's on Game Pass. If it is, he plays it. If it isn't, he goes, "Oh, I hope they bring it to Game Pass." That's it. Like that's and I know multiple people like this, and he played Dodgeball Academia and actually turned me on to it because it's on Game Pass, and those are the only games he really looks at, and so he lets me know when there's a winner, because anytime they update their library, he's like, okay, 6 more games that I have to try out. And that's been a really interesting experience. There's an opportunity for that core gamer that would normally only buy 2 games a year. You know, if you put those 2 games on Game Pass, they're just going to buy Game Pass and then play all those other games that they wouldn't normally have played. And so, that game, Dodgeball Academia, is super surprising, like good game. And I learned it from a guy who typically asks me about games.
Yeah.
Because that's just how he interacts with games now. If it's on the service, it's like Netflix, you know, "Oh, have you seen the show on Netflix?" "Oh no, I didn't even know that was a show." "Oh, well, you should watch it. It's available to you and you don't have to pay anything." And I think that culture is something we haven't had in the games industry before, because the barrier of entry to play a game was pretty high. It's like, "Oh, maybe I'll try this game, but it's $60. Oh, I'll wait for it to go on sale." And then when it goes on sale, my friends aren't playing it. And there's sort of all these limiting factors that are sort of just ebbing away because of this service. And I think that's kind of amazing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Game Pass as a service is really interesting. I mean, I've only been using the service for a little over a year now since I got the Xbox. But in that time, the amount of games that I've discovered has been incredible. And it's not to say that I didn't know about some of these games beforehand, but just the access to be like, "Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about this game." Like, perfect example, Katana Zero. I heard so much stuff about that game, so much stuff. And you know, when you hear a lot of things about an amazing game or an indie game and you want to get to it, it's just like the timing's not right. You know, if sometimes you just miss games because you're busy with something, and it is what it is. I remember one night I was bored and I was like, "Katana Zero, that's on Game Pass." Playing it, I got halfway through the entire game in one sitting, and I was like, wow, this game is friggin' awesome. And you keep seeing that time and time again. And a really interesting part is how it affects not only just the indie community, but also what we're seeing with like AA and AAA. I mean, I think out of all the publishers who've come out and spoken about Game Pass, Sega loves Game Pass because they're seeing so much return. Like what they were able to pull off with the Yakuza franchise. Like they dropped Yakuza 0 and they dropped Yakuza Kiwami. They're like, "All right, you know, we'll put these games on the service. We'll see where it goes from there." And then after those games are a success, okay, we're bringing Yakuza 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Y'all
like a dragon now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like yeah.
So they, in the span of just like a year or so, they brought over all those games. And it's interesting because I don't think those games would have done half as well had they not launched on Game Pass, because you're introducing, first off, this franchise to a new audience, but also games from a different part of the world. Japanese games have not been big on Xbox for a long time. And the fact that they're working so hard they might not be a success in Japan, but worldwide, it's like, hey, you know, you can play Yakuza on your Xbox. You can play Final Fantasy on your Xbox. God willing, one day you can play Persona on your Xbox. And I think that's what matters, just having the access point, because there was a lot of people who they were like, "Oh, I've heard good things about it. I don't know if I'll play it." And then they come back to me a month later like, "Yeah, so I ran through all the Yakuza games. Fantastic series, man." And I'm like, how do you run through all those games? But it's just a testament that sometimes all you need is access. And in some situations, people will play those games and then that'll be the end of it. In some situations, people will love them so much that they buy it. We're seeing a lot of sales reports come out saying that people who have Game Pass are still buying the games and buying the DLCs. So
I do that constantly.
Yeah.
I bought all the Yakuza games. on Xbox. I'd never played one before, and I was just like, I want to support these sorts of games coming to Xbox, and I'm liking Like a Dragon, so I bought them all. I haven't gone back and played any of them yet because Like a Dragon was so good. And then when
my god,
dude, I tried to go to 0, and I was like, oh, there's no English. And got scared. But like, I bought them all, even though they were on Game Pass, just because I wanted to be like, I own these games, and I support them coming out to these platforms. So I feel you.
Yeah, and you get a discount to buy them. I mean,
so it's worth it for me to pay for Game Pass just because I purchase so many games. I get enough discount that every month my cost of subscription is covered by what I save buying games.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing to see how far it's come in a short amount of time, and knowing that this is only the beginning. Like, they still haven't even put out all their major titles. It's going to be interesting. Like, I do have my fears long term, as as we've seen with Steam and we saw with the Switch, where in the beginning it's really good for indies. Like, it's really good because they have the spotlight on them. But as it gets really popular, it starts to get oversaturated. And
curation becomes the challenge.
Exactly. So I'm going to be really interested to see how Microsoft handles this, because Game Pass is a platform in and of itself, separate from Xbox. They just happen to be intertwined. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens when they start launching the Redfalls and the Starfields. I think it could work because you can't launch a Starfield every week. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah.
But you can launch was it Boyfriend Dungeon, you said?
Yeah.
Boyfriend Dungeon. You can launch a Hades. You can launch something like out of the blue. Again, speaking of JRPGs, Octopath Traveler. A lot of people out there like, I never played a JRPG, but I like this Octopath game. Yeah, so it's dope, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of the things, and like I said, we've talked about Game Pass quite a bit, but it's one of those things where one of the things Dan and I talk about often, right, is, and they've said this clearly, so it's not like this is a secret, but Xbox, they're driving towards releasing that first big first party game every quarter, right? Mm-hmm. And then eventually getting to a place where they have a first party release every month, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Jesus, dude.
But in between there, you have these interesting indies like we're talking about here that can launch on the service, get some positive exposure, and then third party deals once in a while, like the show, like Outriders, etc. It's man, it's crazy. I still kind of wonder when. I think once these big first party games, Redfall, Starfield, etc., start hitting, at some point the cost on this service goes up.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to see when that is. But you do make a good point, Neo, about curation. I think that's exactly what I was kind of alluding to when I mentioned Steam and eShop, is because you're right. That happened with both of those. Steam was the indie powerhouse, and it still is, don't get me wrong, but there's so many thousands and thousands of games on Steam, it becomes very hard for people to figure out what they want to play, and eShops had that same problem. And I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, not to interject, but I just thought of a way that they could kind of circumvent that problem, because Steam is a storefront, the Nintendo Switch eShop is a storefront, PlayStation Network storefront, Xbox storefront. Game Pass is different. It's separate. And so, when they do those Game Pass drops, it's usually only like, what is it, like 6 a month?
Twice a month now. They do like 4 to 6 games. 4 to 8 games.
So I think that's a lot more manageable, as opposed to being like, hey, it's Tuesday, here's 50 games. And you're like, wait, what? All right, Halo, but what is everything else? Yeah. So that could be a thing. But go ahead, go to your point. Yeah.
No. You literally just made it.
Look at that.
One of the I forget her name now. Follow her on Twitter, but she's part of the Game Pass team that basically figures out what games are coming to
Game Pass.
Yes,
that's it.
There you go. Melissa Game Pass.
But her name is Melissa, isn't it? I swear,
Melissa Game Pass is the joke name that they use on their Twitter posts for like a fake employee. But I don't know if her name might be. Melissa might be a real person. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think her last name's Game Pass, but moving on anyway.
Not yet.
Should be.
Yet. But they have talked about the fact, to Neo's point around exactly that, is, people ask them, why don't you just leave all the games on the service and continue to add more, so you have several hundred and thousands of games? And what they've said is exactly that, is they want to make sure that games that get added to Game Pass get their time in the spotlight. And I think that's exactly to your point why they're releasing them in chunks. They do bi-weekly releases of a few games, and then games come out of the service too. It's a rotation, so you're not several hundred and then thousands by next year. So Yeah, Beast. I'm gonna have to find the person I'm thinking of now. But anyway.
I tried typing in Melissa and Game Pass on Twitter, and bro, I did not know this Melissa McGame Pass thing goes back to 2019. This is crazy.
That has been an ongoing joke for so long, since like the very beginning of Game Pass. I am obsessed with that great character. She's hilarious.
It's great. It's great. Good to see you on the chat, Fastback. What's happening, brother? Good to see you. So anything else you guys wanted to touch on Game Pass specifically, or any of these other games we've talked about that you've checked out recently on there? I know Beast Mode mentioned some other ones. There was Last Stop. There was Raji. There was oh god, I'm losing my mind now. What else?
The criminally underrated and overlooked 2020 Game of the Year, Hades.
Hades, yes. Curse of the Dead Gods, which was a play on Dead Cells, is a little bit different, but another kind of roguelite run.
I'm not gonna lie. That's an expansion for Dead Cells, right? Curse of the
That's what it said, but it plays differently. It's an isometric game versus Dead Cells being a straight kind of 2D, runner. Yeah, I only played it for about 20 minutes. I did give it a try. I haven't gotten back to it because now I'm stuck on Hades, but yeah, it's definitely different. You should give that a look too. Atomicrops was another one that a lot of people were talking about.
I haven't played that one.
So Blood Roots. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So
there's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah. So
I'm not gonna lie, I might try out that boyfriend dungeon game, because that is part of the reason why I love the Persona series that much. The whole social link, confidants, dating aspect, even though it's like a minor part of the game, stuff like that is cool. So Travis, if you vouch for this boyfriend dungeon game, I might have to, but I heard that it was like someone said it was a roguelike. I might have been reading something.
I'm vouching for the genre. I don't think Boyfriend Dungeon is the best version of this genre, but I'm just saying in general, if you like social links in games, and lots of people do, dating sims have that, and some of them have really, really strong stories and good gameplay. So like, I just think they get a bad rep. But Boyfriend Dungeon, it is a roguelike. It's like you go into a dungeon and you're killing things and leveling up your sword, and then your sword transforms into a boy you can date.
Oh my God.
And that's the and you can choose which weapon, whichever weapon you want to date / use in the dungeon. So it has a hilarious like premise, and whenever they transform from a sword into a cute boy, they have like a Sailor Moon-esque anime transformation. It is worth playing just for the like gimmick. Now in terms of it executing the social links and the dungeon well, like. Yeah, but it's definitely worth like 30 minutes of your time, just because it's so unique. It's such a I got onto it because my girlfriend, she plays every dating sim possible. She's just like obsessed with the genre, and every once in a while I'll see her play one and I'm like, I would play this game. Like, this is actually pretty cool.
For the transforming men, right?
For the transforming men.
There we go.
He's like got a rose in his teeth. He's like, dude, like seduce me. Like what? Like this guy's kind of looking nice to me. Like what?
Oh my God.
There's something in his eyes. Like
there's like that twinkle.
It's like the steel blue eyes just let you know that's where home is.
It's like I don't want to do anything with him, but like if he asked me to dance, like shit, what am I gonna do? Say no? Like but and
Dan, you're looking more red.
Yeah. You got, what do you think about this? Are you going to be downloading?
I mean, I can't even say anything. So what's our next item?
How much we got to donate to the Patreon to get Dan to play Boyfriend Dungeon?
He's actually reviewing it for us. Look for it next week.
Nice. That Twitch stream would go viral. Dan reacts to Boyfriend Dungeon. Oh my God.
It would just be me sitting there for 20 minutes with my hand in my face. Just like
trying to play with one hand.
Yeah, just doing like the, I don't know.
Lots of people play dating sims with one hand, Dan.
Hey, yo.
Probably true.
We're going left. Listen, it's still the morning.
All right.
It's still the morning time.
Let me update the video for Not for Kids.
Exactly. We're going to lose all the ad revenue. It's gone. Out the window, man. Out the window.
Oh my God.
But that Doki, just to finish up real quick, that Doki Doki game looks dope, and I do want to play that at some point.
Play it. Yes. It's actually good. Yeah.
That's one that like if I listen to Unlocked from IGN, and I know like Miranda's big into a lot of those games, and there's a couple other people in the community that talk about those types of games, and Doki Doki always comes up as like one of the kind of the pinnacles, I think, of that. I haven't played it, but that's what I hear.
Yeah.
Would you say, Travis, would you say that's like that type of game that you were talking about, where it's just like a really good story, good gameplay, all that
the
stuff?
story, like you think it's going one way, and then something happens when you're like 25-30% through the game that just changes everything, and you're like, what is this game? And what's funny is a lot of dating sims are like that. Like, you're like, oh, I would never want to play this, and then like partway through the game there's like something really dark that happens, and you're like, what is this video game? And it just, I just really like that they like I think the defining trait of the dating sim genre is they're not afraid to try crazy things that other games would like never do because they're like not marketable. They're like, we're a dating sim, we're already not marketable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
they
like,
know what they know where they
gives
lie,
us freedom to just try crazy junk, and they do a great job with it. So yeah,
and show crazy junk too.
Yeah, right.
There's comments piling in, Dan, that people would pay to watch you stream this.
What have I done? What have I started?
Oh my god! I mean, I don't even know.
He's got no words.
Somebody said, "Dan, I co-stream that with you."
To be fair, Boyfriend Dungeon does have a woman boyfriend, so a girl you can date, and a cat if you're not into dating humans. So there you go.
The cat?
You can date the cat. Well, you date it, but you can,
Does the cat turn into like a smaller?
The cat becomes
like a dagger?
Brass Knuckles.
That's adorable.
That's the cat. It's Brass Knuckles. Yeah. So.
You don't want to date playing Boyfriend Dungeon and Travis doing live play-by-play.
Nah, this comment section is hilarious, man. Everyone's like, Dan.
Oh, I would dedicate my time. It's for charity. Think of the kids.
When does 12 minutes come out?
Well, it doesn't come out for a while, but you know what you can play in 12 minutes? Boyfriend Dungeon. Go ahead.
Yeah. They're not going to release it until you play Boyfriend Dungeon for 12 minutes.
This is true. Exactly. Your Game Pass version of 12 minutes will not work until you complete
Boyfriend. Take my subscription and do whatever you want with it then, because I'm good. I'm good. It will never
exclusively to the KFC console after that. What console doesn't have that game?
I'm done with everything. I can't game anymore. I mean, this is where we're at.
Jeez. Boyfriend Dungeon has ruined video games for Dan.
Now I've got to check it out. I wasn't going to check it out. But no,
me too. I got to do it.
Yeah,
go for it.
Oh man! But again, one of the great things. Now I can just go download it, try it. Don't like it, doesn't matter. You know, that's the beauty of it. Sure. All right. Let's get into some other stuff. I wanted to chat on this because it's an ongoing saga. I know we're all kind of watching unfold, but this week we saw more fallout from Activision Blizzard. 3 lead developers, including Diablo 4's game director, were let go from Blizzard. A fourth, one of the other ones that was in that picture we all saw, has been put on leave, and he may be on his way out as well. So clear that at least from a visual standpoint, they're making some changes here. Hopefully, they've got a long way to go, as we already talked about. But it's pretty significant when a game as big as Diablo 4, which will be one of the biggest games in the world when it releases, that the game director was just fired, basically. So this is pretty big news. As a gigantic Diablo fan, this does concern me. But good old Rod Ferguson's over there, really good dude, and that dude knows how to get a game.
The throne.
Yeah.
He knows how to complete games. He gets games out the door and complete. So I'm not too worried about where Diablo 4 is going to end up. I think it's going to be fine. But I think many of us, we kind of speak for everyone where it's like, keep going, right? There's a lot of trash to take out. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. It's gonna take some time, and I know I saw some of the discourse online from folks saying, why are you firing a lot of the people who haven't been in charge that long? Like, I think the head of Blizzard who got fired had only been the CEO for, I want to say, the past 2.5, 3 years. So a lot of people are saying, well, he's not the person who was in charge when the majority of these complaints were leveled. And I'm like, yes, that is true. But being in charge for 3 years and a lot of people still leveling all these complaints still means on some level you are complicit in it.
Of course.
So there are going to be some people that are going to be fired who might not have shouldered the brunt of the burden, but they were part of this systemic process of people feeling like they were devalued at this company, which nobody should. I mean, already you have the struggle of creating a video game and how much it goes into that, but then coming to work and feeling unsafe and feeling like your opinion doesn't matter because of your gender or because of your experience and all that stuff. It's a terrible thing in an industry where people, it's bleeding talent. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen many of people stay in the game industry for a few years, and then they just up and quit. That's it. They're the most talented people. They're just like, I can't deal with, working on a project, and I'm basically just contract work. I don't have a stable job, or, there's too much power at this company and people get away with stuff. So I want to see more of it. As much as I don't like to see, because there are a lot of people, like, make no mistake, there are a lot of people working on games like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, who genuinely love what they're doing. They're decent, honest, hardworking people. And I don't want to see these games go up in flames because of select few individuals. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a messy scenario regardless of what happens. Nothing's going to be perfect. People are going to have to go. There are going to be some issues, but this is a big problem. And the fact that it boiled up to the point where it's making headlines is evidence of how long that this stuff has been gestating, and people are going to have to go. And unfortunately, gamers have to separate their love for games versus the people that are working on it. Because everyone's like, it's the whole topic about crunch. Everyone's like, well, I don't really care about crunch because crunch makes better games. And I'm like, don't you want the people who work on those games to be happy so they can make better games
and continue making good games?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just so weird how people can't separate the two. But
no, that was all extremely well said, Neil.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that you kind of nailed several points there at once. And you're right. You're spot on with, okay, he hasn't been there when all these things have gone on. And the sad thing is, now that there's lawsuits coming up and class action and people speaking out and all that tells me, as someone who works in a big corporation as well, is that imagine all the stuff that we don't know about that's been going on. If it's bubbled up this high, I guarantee you there's a ton of other examples that we don't know about that have been going on for a very long time. So it's it's going to take some time. But to your point, 3 years as someone as powerful, and I forget the guy's name. I know who you're referring to, and I forget his name. But someone as powerful as him for 3 years, he could have made some significant change. And I think complicit is exactly the right word to use in that situation.
Yeah.
So, Dan, you want to hit these super chats?
Got a couple of super chats. First from what time is it? All right.
It's all those energy drinks, man. You're
literally.
That's what it is, man. It's basically
next dimension right now.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I just lost my. There was Mary. You put it up there. Good. Mariano Pampa, the $10 super chat. Thanks, man. Dan, Scary Gamer Dating Sim. Take your pick to play. Lol. I can't play either one of them. Maybe a scary dating sim.
Oh God!
Then we just get to that.
There actually are those. That's
it's called Resident Evil Village. You're dating. What's her name?
Yeah. Jeez, man, this is what I need. And then Mo with the $4.99 super chat. Good morning, brethren. Cheers to you and everyone watching. Heart emoji. Raji has colors. PlayStation is dead. That Judy. I love her. Is that a haiku?
Wow.
Or was that just like
he mixed in a bunch of jokes in the community.
Yeah, it's like he had a stroke while he
chat.
was writing that poem. Nothing makes sense, but thank you, Mo. Yes. And good morning to you.
By the way, I chose properly in Cyberpunk, so Judy and I did get along very well. Thank you, Mo. That's who he's referring to, by the way, Judy and Cyberpunk.
There's a dating sim, I noticed.
Yeah, see, right. another aspect right there.
Right. Perfect.
Guys, any other comments on the Blizzard stuff?
J. Allen Brack was his name.
Thank you. Yes, that's him. Yeah. So yeah. He had the capability to make change and didn't. So complicit is exactly right.
Yeah, I guess we've already talked about this like 3 weeks in a row on the show. So I've already said like a lot about this topic, but I'll just say it is comforting to see that Activision's doing something. We've seen other companies be in similar situations, like Ubisoft, and not really take much action at all.
Quantic Dream too.
Yeah, there's another one. Or in Riot's case, they kind of had to wait until it was like forced upon them to make any sort of changes. It is comforting to see something happen. We'll see if it changes anything, but it's certainly a good start. I guess that walkout must have done something, right, guys?
Do you guys mind if I pose a question to y'all?
Oh, sure. Of course.
Okay, so in light of the whole situation that's going on with Blizzard, I spoke about how it's affecting a lot of people working on games right now. Yeah. What do you guys think is going to happen with the Call of Duty reveal? Not necessarily the fact that they're announcing the game, like, oh yeah, we know there's a new Call of Duty, but how it's going to affect PlayStation's partnership with Activision, because I know at the end of the day, money talks, and gamers are they're easily swayed away from controversy if you put something shiny in front of them. But do you think this might have any long-term ramifications going forward? Because I mean, if they do announce this Call of Duty thing at this rumored state of play, do you think it's going to be kind of strange that, like, okay, we're promoting this new Call of Duty game, and then all these people are dealing with harassment at the same company and everything?
Yeah, I actually have a pretty strong opinion here that it will not affect anything for a few reasons. One, I think the amount of people who play or care about Call of Duty and know about what's happening with Activision is extremely small. I think the overlap there is almost non-existent. I think it's something that we all care about because we're in the industry, but the average player who's just buying the next Call of Duty game or getting hyped to hop into a multiplayer lobby, they have almost zero awareness of this. And I would guess that the overlap is pretty small. So I don't think it'll affect most people. Obviously, I think it probably puts a sour taste in the mouth for the PlayStation people who probably signed this contract a long time ago and are obligated to show off the game, regardless of how they feel. It's going to feel weird for people in the industry who are like observing it. Like, yeah, this game looks cool, but on the other hand, there's some messed up stuff going on. But I think, we're the tip of the iceberg. We're like the people who can see above the water, and that is a very small. Most people are just incomplete. Like, either they don't care or they just don't have that awareness of the industry, and I think that's it's probably going to have minimal effect on the actual reveal and the sales or anything like that.
Yeah.
It is nonetheless important to be happening. It's just I don't think it's going to have a big impact at the end of the day.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. As sad as that is, I guess there should be some impact there. But it's Steve, who writes for us, wrote a good article, and you have this mentality of people who are saying they're not going to support Activision and Blizzard games, and that's obviously their right to do that. But then you have, as we all know, right, there are these thousands of developers whose livelihood depends on people buying the game that they're working on too.
Yeah.
So it's this kind of catch-22. But I think you're right. I think we did see this week, or I should say over the past couple of weeks, a few big companies start to pull back their sponsorship of various Activision Blizzard things. And what I told people I talk to on a daily basis is that's when you'll start to see change. As sad as it is, when you start to see the companies like Coca-Cola and the billions and billions dollar companies start to pull back their $100 million advertising contracts from Activision Blizzard events because of what's going on, and that's when you start really hitting the executive level of Activision Blizzard. That's when you'll start to see change. And I think there were
stock dropped.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, their stock dropped 12%. Bobby Kotick was on he was out in front the next day.
Oh my God. Because you remember the first report they came out saying like, oh, these are all overblown. And then when the stock dropped, he was like, oh, listen, we at Blizzard do not tolerate. It's like crazy, man.
It's sad, but it's clockwork. That is the state of these companies, and that is the negative aspects of capitalism, right? Yeah. Is the matter of fact is that as soon as you hit these companies where their stock in their pocketbooks, and you're talking about millions of dollars taken away from people who are already abundantly millionaires, it's sad that that's what it takes to really start to make fundamental change.
Isn't that the positive thing of capitalism, though? Is that you can stick it?
Yeah. Yes, in theory, right? In theory, but how long has this been going on, and how much money have they already made? You know what I mean? It's a self-correcting cycle that I wish self-corrected faster. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just because we didn't know about it, right? Or at least at public at large. But.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like Overwatch, Pro League lost one of its sponsors 2 weeks ago, and then another one said they're not covering an Activision event. And as soon as that started happening, I was like, now you'll start to see stuff. Now you'll start to see change. It would be real interesting. The reason I was thinking about this as you asked the question, Neo, is if PlayStation just came out and said, yeah, we're not going to renew with Call of Duty. I don't think they will, because Call of Duty is it's too big, as you guys alluded to. But if that were to happen, and someone like Xbox said, yeah, we're not going with you either, that would be an interesting shift in the dynamics of the marketing aspect.
Nintendo, now's your time. Exactly. You got that exclusive, the Switch.
Call of Duty Pro League on Nintendo Online.
Warzone at 360p, y'all. We got this.
Just get on your phone to chat with your teammates and
oh god,
with motion controls, gyroscope. shooting around like this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's obviously we all wish that empathy would be the reason that they would make changes, but capitalism got done with what empathy couldn't. So I guess that's one way
feelings don't matter in the pursuit of making money these days.
It's all the pocketbook.
Yep.
But you could also, and I'm certainly not getting in a debate about capitalism. That's not what this show's for.
Really? I thought it was on the run of show.
No. But what I was going to say is capitalism. Some of the issues we're talking about, the pure focus on sales and revenue and crunch and all those things are because of capitalism. Yeah, right. It's getting the top product at the lowest possible cost.
I'm not saying it should be laissez-faire, everyone. I'm just saying.
So there's, again, as with almost everything in life, there's good and bad. Most of life lives in the gray, and it's just tough. But long story short, I think we overwhelmingly all of us are in agreement that we hope to continue.
Did you just express a moderate opinion, Ains?
Amen.
In the middle? This is the internet. It's either the worst thing ever or it's Jesus Christ himself. It's one of those two.
This is not Dogmatic Gaming. What podcast am I?
Dogmatic.
Get out of here.
All right. So here's the best segue I can make out of this topic. Is we mentioned Nintendo, and they had an Indies event this week, and then Xbox also had their Twitch event. So I've joked about this Twitch event that Xbox did a few months ago, and I understand it's really cool for the creators and some of the indie games that get put on display, but the way they handled this showcase is just not good. It's bad to watch. I was hoping this one would be different. It wasn't. I lasted maybe 10 minutes and I was like, I can't watch this anymore. It's just
I didn't even watch it. I saw that first one, and I like it from the first of developers getting to show their games. That's awesome. That's fantastic. But with the length of time that they were sitting there, I'm just like, yo, y'all could have just like uploaded this on YouTube as an individual dev diary. You could have done like a highlight reel, like, okay, here's the game. We'll talk to the devs for like 3 minutes, and then the showcase could be like maybe half an hour, 45. That's it. But we were sitting in there for how long was that thing? Like 3.5 hours?
It was
5 hours. All I know is I had breakfast before the stream. I left it towards the end of the stream, and I made a protein shake, and I came back, and that stream is still going. I was like, "What is going on here, bro?"
Wow. Yeah, we said the same thing after the first one. It's like the games, great, show the games, but exactly what you just said. It's like, okay, have a couple-minute conversation where you show the game what it's about, and then say you can find the developer, the studio, more information on our YouTube channel or Twitch or whatever it may be. It's just not what they do, and it doesn't make for good watching. Yeah. So, but I don't know, between and the Indies event on Nintendo's side was obviously pretty short. It was, one of their just quick indie presentations.
Snappy.
Which is fine, right? You're showing the games, get through it, Anything jump out to you? I know, Travis, you said you were checking out the Nintendo event before we started the show.
Actually, saw a lot of, like, on the Xbox side, Evil Genius 2, the Big Con, Sable, which I played a demo for at E3.
Sable has been shown a few times. Yeah, it looks good.
It's been shown a few times. And then Origami 2, which I did a preview for at IGN. I've actually played that game, and I was happy to see it there. So, but on the Nintendo side, they had Axiom Verge 2, which the first Axiom Verge is awesome. The new Shovel Knight Pocket, which I'll try. It's got Shovel Knight in it, so it probably is good.
I have a Dan-like opinion on Shovel Knight, but we're not going to get into it at the moment.
Really? You don't like Shovel Knight?
I need some spiciness. Really? We need to establish this as Dogmatic Gaming. You have a modern opinion. I need the spicy hot take. Let's go.
Really? What's the hot take? Okay, I would be very interested to hear, because to me that's like picture perfect platforming. What is it? Mega Man.
I don't know.
I would actually say it's better than most of the Mega Man games.
So I grew, we've talked about it. Grew up 16-bit era, right? Adore 2D platformers, all those games. And Luke's already popping off in the chat. Shovel Knight, I heard all these great things about it, right? Rated really high. A lot of people really love it. I jumped in, I played it for a few hours, and I'm like, what? No. It's not good.
Be specific.
So the problem is it tries to be an 8-bit style platformer, right? But the problem is that this is going to sound really ridiculous, I realize, but bear with me. It accomplishes it too well, meaning that it literally feels like the game was made in the 80s. Whereas the other modern games that are kind of throwbacks to that era, they take what was great about those games, right? But they modernize all the aspects that weren't so great. And there's plenty of, looking back 30 years later, there's plenty of aspects of those games that weren't great. We just loved them at the time. So you look at all these fantastic games we're talking about, and I always go back to Rogue Legacy because I think it's one of the greatest kind of modern 2D roguelike games from a gameplay perspective that plays into like the Ghouls and Ghosts side, or even the new Ghouls and Ghosts remastered or Ghosts and Goblins remastered. Amazing. Shovel Knight, it literally was like you went back to the 80s and played one of those games and had all the same faults. And I was just like, I don't know why this game is so celebrated.
Yeah, I just completely disagree with that, and maybe it's because
I just love, that was like such a polite way of saying,
yeah,
you are 100% wrong, and here's why.
I just exactly. Maybe Ains, maybe you haven't played one of those games from the 80s and seen how janky those games feel today. Because like if you go back and play the original Mega Man, like obviously those games are still great, but they really, really like feel like old games. And Shovel Knight felt like, to me, which now Shovel Knight is kind of an old game, weirdly. To me, it felt like it improved in so many eras, like the story and the formula and the kind of. I mean, obviously, I think you probably know you're in the minority here, so I don't have to like pile on here. But that surprises me. As you're the hipster.
I know those are my games. That's what I'm saying. Those are my games. And that game, I was so excited to play it because of everything I'd heard. And the more I played it, I'm just like,
did you beat it? Did you get through the whole game?
I did not beat it. No.
Okay.
But I did. It wasn't like half an hour. I played it for hours. And I was just like, no.
Yeah, I love that game. That's one of my all time. So yeah, I'll be excited for Pocket. It doesn't look like it's going to be like, effectively a Shovel Knight 2, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, it looks different.
Are they still working on Shovel Knight 2? What's the story on that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it for a long time.
My policy with these things is that unless I see it, I just assume it doesn't exist. Like,
my policy is unless I can click start and the game loads, I don't believe it exists.
Really? Wow, that's even more extreme. Like,
yeah, because I grew up in that era where because Square Enix, they announce games like 10 years in advance. It's like you announced Final Fantasy Versus 13 when I'm in 8th grade, and dang, it took 10 years.
You got it though. It exists.
Unfortunately, it exists. Unfortunately, it does.
They showed Metal Slug Tactics too, which Metal Slug, great franchise. I love those games. But this looks like a different take on it. I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, to be honest, I didn't watch either showcase, so I don't really have too much input. It's been a busy week.
They also Loop Hero. They showed that on the Switch. Far Changing Tides, which is a sequel to Alone Sales, Far Alone Sales. Mm-hmm. There were quite a few that I was like, all right. I mean, I play like just a ton of these indie games, so that's basically all either of these shows were. But a lot of them are things I either played or got to see behind closed doors at the last E3 that happened in person. Yeah. So it feels like a lot of these guys got dipped into carbon freeze during COVID, and they're finally starting to thaw out. And I'm seeing some of these games that I know were at like some of them seem like they were almost done. Like Evil Genius 2, dude. I saw a build of that game like at the last in-person E3, and I was like, oh yeah, this game's coming out like later this year, right? Yeah. And it, I think COVID really had an impact on a lot of these guys that is finally starting. I'm starting to see a lot of these indies come out, because let's be honest, the AAAs and AAs, if they're getting delayed with the resources they have and the ability to go remote, I can't imagine how much it's impacted the indies. And we're probably not hearing a lot from them because their delays aren't big news, because they typically don't have release dates until like really, really far down the line. But I can't imagine how much a lot of these indie games have been affected by having to go remote. So I think we're finally starting to see some of those get pushed out.
Yeah. Beast Mode asks, is Team Cherry still independent? I have no idea.
I think so, yeah. I don't think they've been acquired by anybody.
Yeah, if they were picked up, I'm sure we probably would have heard about it.
Let me see. Team Cherry. Indie games developer in South Australia. No, it doesn't say anything. Yeah, nope.
Yeah, I guess we'll hear from them soon. We got a.
I don't know if you want to read this one.
I already read the super chat, but Dan, you want to hit it up? This one's aimed at Neo, and it's an interesting one.
Okay.
Oh no!
Mexican Zoidberg for the $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. Oh crap! Here comes Neo. Hide your grandmas, everyone. Here comes Chris. Gilf Chaser extraordinaire.
All right, so
is there? You want to try and explain this one, Neo?
I'm gonna try to explain it. I'm gonna stay as PG as possible because I respect the shows.
At least somebody does.
All right, so one time I let it slip on a live stream that I went on a date with a woman who is 20 years older than me, right? And then from there, of course, my co-host of the show was just like, "Oh, so you chasing them gilfs?" And I'm like, I don't know how someone who's like 48, 40, well, she was like 49. I don't know how that's a gilf, bro. And he was just like, "Yeah, that's a gilf, bro." And then everybody in the comment section, Mexican Zoidberg, I see you, bro. They're just like, "Oh yeah, Neo, he's a gilf chaser, man. Like if she don't have an AARP card, then Neo don't want to talk to her." And I was like, whoa, this is why I don't talk about things.
Oh, man, you're not living this one down.
Well,
that's where all this started, man.
There's like 2 gilfs in this show for you to chase. So,
no, Travis, I thought we had something, bro.
I'm just saying, like, you got Ames and Dan here. They're looking pretty.
Yeah.
Oh my
Sunday
God.
savagery. Good Lord.
Sunday savagery.
Luke says they're so talented.
Who? Hopefully not the gilfs.
Nice.
Oh man,
It's just nice.
all right. Let's jump. God. Let's jump over to Gamescom. I know we'll be talking more about this in the coming weeks, but I just wanted to kind of give an update that, for those of you who are unaware, Gamescom is typically one of the biggest shows of the year. Late August, it's coming. Opening night live with Jeff Keighley's starting on August 25th, 11 a.m. Pacific. Xbox has announced the showcase the day prior on August 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific. I know Paris is helping host that again. And so here's what they said about it. It's not a big like E3 level showcase from them, but what they said is previously announced Xbox Game Studios titles, updates on those along with third-party partners, and some of the incredible titles coming to Xbox this holiday, including Xbox Game Pass. So again, it should just be updates on new things coming. But I guess one of the things I wanted to ask you guys is PlayStation. Where the hell has PlayStation been? And we keep hearing about this rumor state of play that we're going to get. Do you think we get a state of play this month? Do you think they show up at Gamescom? I mean, by the time Gamescom hits, we're in the last week of August, right? And you're basically getting into the fall quarter. And as of this moment, correct me if I'm wrong, PlayStation has not themselves said that Horizon's been delayed. Everyone else has kind of said it's confirmed. We've heard from developers, but PlayStation hasn't talked about it. In fact, PlayStation hasn't talked about much of anything coming this fall from them or any of the partnerships. So do you think we hear from PlayStation here in the next week or two as part of either Gamescom or their own event?
I feel like PlayStation thought that they kind of had a mic drop moment with like the God of War reveal and the Horizon reveal, but the mic actually just landed on the table and didn't fall all the way to the floor. And they're kind of like, hey, what's going on? And then State of Play started trending last week on Twitter, but it was actually a thing for a Russell Crowe movie. So I was like super excited. And I was like,
my God, what?
I was like, what is
Was that real?
Yeah, no, it was real.
Is
like,
it actually Russell Crowe?
Well, Russell Crowe asked, what are some of your favorite Russell Crowe movies? And one of his movies is State of Play, I think. And so I started trending with like Master and Commander of the World or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, no. This is not exactly what I was looking for. So I don't know what the hell PlayStation's doing. I wish they'd come out and I've always been somebody that's, just be upfront, tell the truth. I don't care what it is. Everybody seems to be fine with delays anyway. So we know it, it's eventually going to be happening. It's always, make your best game, take your time, do whatever you want to do.
Insert the Miyamoto quote.
Yeah,
right
whatever
here.
it is.
88 times.
Yeah. I mean, whatever, right? Just tell us when, stop, playing around. And that's my biggest thing with all this stuff. Like if you're going to delay it, I mean, there is 8,000 templates online that you can find, a message from the developer, insert why you're doing it, COVID, and then something else.
Just make it bright yellow and it'll attract everything else.
That's all you got to do. I mean, there is everybody knows how to do it right now. 2020 as in 2021 has taught us, at least how to do that. It's fine. I don't care. Just be upfront. I'm tired of waiting. Yeah, say something. Just don't make it, completely. We have no idea. As far as the Xbox event, we'll see what happens. It's got to be better than the Twitch thing. So
well, the abandoned jokes are already coming in.
Oh boy.
I can't even deal with that.
I was gonna make one, but yeah, I abandoned the effort.
Travis, go home.
I'm gonna have to remove him from the show here.
Might as well do it now, bro.
Fat Boy Horror £5 super chat. Hasn't PlayStation been abandoned?
Oh, good lord.
Something has been.
Man. Yeah, that'll be their state of play. It'll just be a 12-second trailer of Abandoned.
Yeah. It'll be some guy walking,
you have to go
but
to
in
their
the
app.
opposite direction.
You have to download their app first.
Yeah, but I mean, this whole PlayStation thing, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the more time passes, the more, I don't want to say pissed off, because I don't really get pissed off over video games and them not telling me stuff. But if you were gaming on the PlayStation from the latter half of the PS3's life up until the end of the PS4's life, just looking at how consumer driven and how very much so in the same way that Xbox is right now, with engaging with their audiences, having fun on Twitter, like just random stuff to get people excited. We saw that with PlayStation way before social media was even a thing. The excitement and the aura and the energy you got from PlayStation Experience and all those things we saw. Now we're seeing a shift towards a much more corporate driven PlayStation, where we're going to tell you stuff whenever we want to. And it's not fun. I mean, yes, at the end of the day, if they drop 20 banger exclusives that are all fantastic quality, high caliber, that's awesome. But just like the caginess of not coming out there and saying like, hey, we want to tell you about Horizon. Like, they don't need to have an event with a trailer and then say spring 2022. They don't need to do that. All they got to do is just come out and be open and honest with people. Like, that's it. Like, they keep saying how, oh, we're all one family, consumers, gamers, like, the whole thing they always say, like, we don't know console wars. Yeah. And then it's like they do this cagey behavior where they don't say anything, and just like simple stuff, like simple updates, like, we're working to address these issues. It's like we have to look deep into a PlayStation blog post to see that, oh, they're working on fixing things, instead of Xbox saying, hey, we're working on fixing this issue you guys have tweeted us. Like, I don't know, man. And it's just say what you're working on. Like, we have no idea of any upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive games. We don't know any of them. Like, we know they're in development, but we don't know a single one. The only things we know about is Horizon, Forza, Horizon, Gran Turismo, and God of War. All three of them, which are cross-gen.
Which are obvious ones, right? I mean, those are the obvious ones.
Exactly. So it's just like, well, I want to get excited about other stuff other than, okay, well, we know Naughty Dog's probably working on something. And then, oh, I just remembered that they're trying to remake The Last of Us, and that's just another disappointing thing. Like, really? We could have been doing something else, but you're giving us a game that came out a few years ago. Okay. But yeah, I'll be excited when they announce the event and we see something. But as of right now, it's like, I love my PS5. I like Ratchet and Clank. I like Returnal. But other than that, I don't see anything that I couldn't already get on my PS4 right now. And I know you could say the same thing about Xbox, but at least Xbox, we know next year we're playing those next generation exclusives, and we know what they're going to somewhat play like, So,
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't think you're alone there. I've talked about this, Joe, obviously running the Trophy Room PlayStation podcast, and I've talked with him quite a bit about this. And the same thing. It's just, you guys both said it already. It's transparency. Just come out and talk with your community. It's like they've just kind of gone behind the curtain, if you will. And it does feel a little odd. I don't know why that is, because obviously the PS5 is selling like hotcakes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, it's setting records in that regard, even despite the lack of supply. And there's still this just global, obviously, adoration for PlayStation as a brand and as a console, and it just feels weird. It feels like there's a disconnect, right, between what you're doing here for your fans and or what you used to do for your fans and what you're doing now, exactly as you said. So, Travis, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think PlayStation probably has some tricks up its sleeve.
They usually do.
I think they probably are playing their cards close to the chest right now, because they have been victims in the past of announcing games too early. You know, we saw Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4 at their E3 events like 3 or 4 years in a row each. Like it was, you know, it got kind of ridiculous toward the end. And I think in a certain extent they've sort of run out of steam in certain cases by revealing things too soon and then not having anything to reveal at the next event, or just show the same game again. And Microsoft took the opposite approach, where they started to rein in how early they were announcing games, and that hurt them in the beginning. But now they've got all these games that they're just like, haha, we're working on this, and I think that has sort of helped them. But that said, Sony's a pretty savvy company. They're sort of just showing, they're proving it just by doing, to be honest. Like Ratchet and Clank just dropping it and just being like, this game's out, like play it. It's probably one of the best games you'll play this year. You know, we were just talking about Returnal drop here. It's a great game, probably one of the best games you'll play this year. And I think they'll continue to do that with Deathloop this year. That second or third party deal that they secured with Bethesda, they'll have that. They'll have God of War next year. They'll have Horizon Zero Dawn next year. Obviously, it would be nice if they gave us more info, but I actually don't think Sony is talking to us less. I just think that Microsoft is talking more, and they're controlling the conversation. And I think that has been why it seems like Sony's being non-communicative and being worse than they've usually been. It's because Microsoft is so on their game, and this is what pushes good companies to get better, right? Is when their competition is doing things that is making them step up. And I think Microsoft, constant announcements of Game Pass, full transparency, all their stuff, always having news to talk about and stuff like that. I think it's making PlayStation look distant and non-communicative just by comparison, even though they're probably not doing that much different from what they've done in the past. Sony has always been sort of mysterious and aloof and kept their cards pretty close to their vest. And then had those massive events where they just like reveal everything all at once. So I think they'll continue to do that. If they'll continue to be as successful as they've had in the past with the current version of Xbox that we're getting, I don't know. But yeah, I think they're probably just sticking to their playbook and keeping people guessing, and we'll have ways to surprise us that we don't know about yet. That's the hopeful me.
Yeah. I think this was the question I was going to pose, which Pampa put up there. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Yeah, is it Sony's been silent or Microsoft has been talkative? That's exactly what we're kind of talking about. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a little of X, a little of Y. Microsoft is on their game, as you said, and they're just. But Microsoft had a lot more to prove, right? And we've talked about this coming into the generation. I mean, Sony.
That's why I hope they keep losing. I want them to lose.
No doubt.
It's the best. Underdog Xbox.
Them getting punched from Xbox One in the mouth is the best thing that ever happened to Xbox. I mean, it really is. Yeah,
absolutely.
And probably the games industry for people who care about it. Like this is competition again. Not to harp on how much capitalism is awesome. Like we're back here again. Like it's great. They as iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like looking at the whole indie game scene. Like I remember when they first came out with XBLA Arcade, Microsoft was all about the indies.
Yeah,
and then
great times.
PlayStation 4. Front and center E3, all their events, indies. That went away, and then now it's Xbox again. So you want your companies to actually, like, if they are on a pedestal, you want to make sure that they know that, listen, this pedestal can be yanked in a matter of just a few years if you keep screwing up, and that's what's important. Yeah,
it's interesting, and it is cyclical. It's funny how. I don't know how that always happens, but it's run true for decades now. It's very strange. So, anything else you
games, man? I mean, that's always the biggest thing with me is just give me some stuff. Like Neo said, just be honest. Yeah. You know, I mean, transparency goes a long way with the fans, and you know, sometimes it seems like we're just constantly waiting, but I'm sure stuff will kind of even out eventually. It always does. Forth, that's it. So.
And we were just saying that we're inundated with games to play anyway. It's not like there's not games to play, right? It's just I think we're so used to anticipation. Anticipation is one of the biggest aspects of the gaming community. It's always looking forward to what the next big thing is,
especially this time of year.
If there's over 10 million PlayStations out there, I think maybe it's like 15 million now or something like that.
I think it's 10.
10.1
10
as of
points
the end of the quarter.
Got it. You have to imagine that Sony's doing extremely well with third parties, that they're getting the lion's share of like third party sales at this point.
Yes,
with that many consoles out there, at least for the biggest whales of the gaming industry who buy the console first and purchase like multiple games a year or a month even, they're probably doing very well for themselves. So,
Yes.
I think they said that it was on the cusp of being profitable, the PS5, and they're not going to lose any money. So that's insane. It hasn't even been per unit.
The disk drive one, they said in their quarterly report, the disk drive one is now profitable.
Yeah, digital, I don't think it'll be profitable.
Probably not for a while.
Yeah.
No, the digital price was definitely we've got to get in there undercut. You know,
I don't even know how Microsoft. I'd be very interested to see how much it takes them to manufacture a Series S, because I know they're losing money on that.
Yeah. But they can.
Yeah, they can. Exactly. They can at the Game
can.
Pass box, right? They're going to make it back on the back end as always. So, yeah. Anything else, you guys? Gamescom. You know, we've had our E3. Gamescom's not that big, but there usually are some decent announcements at Gamescom. I mean, anything that you expect or are looking forward to or would like to see from either Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation at Gamescom?
How about does it have to be that? I mean, give me a new BioShock already. Show me what the hell they're working on.
Yeah,
they've supposedly been working on it for a while.
Yeah,
I want to see what Ken Levine's been working on, to be honest.
Yeah,
he's working on something else too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he's doing his own thing.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah,
it'll probably be good. Yeah,
it'll be super pretentious and you know, really high level, but also really, really good.
Yeah.
So.
I just want the guy who runs the abandoned Twitter account to have his own showcase. He just comes out on stage and just rambles.
How do you tune into it?
And then he retracts his own statements like seconds later.
He just walks across the stage and then walks off, and that's
straight up
from one side to the other.
Blue stage light.
The whole abandoned show.
I think it'll be a smaller event this year. I think this will probably be the smallest Gamescom has been, and it'll be sad because Gamescom was like the fastest growing.
Yeah,
it's much bigger than E3, but in terms of announcements, it was starting to really pick up steam.
Yes,
and some of the players that were leaving E3 were going to Gamescom just because fans are there, so it's like a better marketing opportunity for them. And I think this year it probably will be smaller just by virtue of so many games getting delayed and all the stuff that continues to go on with the global pandemic.
It is 100% digital. Yep.
Yeah, I think it'll be smaller than it usually is, but I'm not really sure what to expect in terms of announcements. I think it'll probably be smaller ones. A chance for Gamescom has always been a chance for like smaller games to shine or us to get a closer look at games we already know are coming out, and I think it'll be true this year. As well.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do for this Gamescom because I mean, between the two events, Gamescom and E3, usually there is a lot of basically because E3 has gotten I don't want to say it's pretentious, but it's gotten a stigma of being that event where only the big players show up. You know what I'm saying? Grandiose, exactly. So then Gamescom is like where you'd have not like the games are inconsequential, but okay, well, we don't want to compete with the giants, the juggernauts, so we'll go to Gamescom. But after what I saw at this year's E3, I'm kind of losing hope on any of these events until the world is fully back to normal, because it's like you said, Travis, everything is impacted. I know a lot of people, because every now and then you look into a YouTube comment section, not this comment section. This comment section is awesome, but every now and then you look into a comment section and then you hear somebody say oh, why is this game getting delayed, or why doesn't Xbox have more this year than Halo, or why doesn't PlayStation have this? And it's just people don't understand that game development it's going to be impacted to a crazy degree for the next 2 years. And a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to production, the games that have gotten hit the hardest are not the games that have released in the past year. It's the games that are starting a production, middle of the way, that have transitioned to work from home, because game development, a lot of it can be just coding or something. But a lot of it sometimes is oh, hey, Travis is in the cubicle down there. It's Travis, come over here. Can you go check this over? I need someone else's opinion. A lot of that collaborative effort. So if they can't get that collaborative effort, because it's different virtually, they're going to push the game. And that's why I anticipate, okay, if we don't see anything that's crazy monumental or something that's I can play within the next couple months, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, just because I know you guys are just doing the best that you can. So if I see some cool things there, I'm excited. If I don't, hey, keep it moving.
Yeah, fair enough. couple of the comments from Beast Mode and the Dean Files. You know, there's a bunch of games that are supposedly still 2021 for Xbox, like Crossfire X, Scorn, The Gunk. That we haven't.
Halo Infinite.
Yeah, so
What's that?
People are expecting
We definitely have
Infinite.
never talked about Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
this?
I don't
Indeed.
know what is this. Is Master Chef?
We
guy.
don't have a date for it. Technically, it still
True.
could not come this year.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We've talked
So,
about
see,
this.
It doesn't
We
have a
talked about
release
this.
date. It doesn't have a release date.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the Twitter post that says an update on Halo Infinite from 343, and it's just a freaking URL.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like here's the thing: Xbox is releasing games in December that have release dates, and we
Yeah, I
know
know.
if Halo comes out this year, it's
That
coming
Call
out
of
before
Duty.
December, and it's
No,
not
but-
a
Call of Duty,
release
man.
date.
It's that Call
but
of Duty.
Phil himself, not even Bonnie Ross, Phil himself came out and said, yeah, Halo's ready. We're just waiting on some other third-party announcements before we announce the date. He said that like 2 weeks ago.
You would think
Where's-
that like
where's that
behind the
release date?
scenes, yeah, you would think
Call
behind
of
the
Duty
scenes
doesn't have
on
a
that
release date.
level. Yeah, and I think the reason
That's
is
why.
because it's a
Call of
really
Duty
big
never has a release
SHIT
date by
show.
this time, though.
Yes, it does.
It does. It always does. Usually
Absolutely
they
it
announce
does.
it. They used to. Okay, so here's the thing.
They used to announce it at E3, right?
They used to announce it like somewhere between May and June. Oh wait,
Yeah.
they revealed it in May, announced it in June, but I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, because the development of this game is rocky, or because Warzone is now a thing.
All three.
They've been announcing it later and later in the year, but we're halfway through August now, and they haven't even said anything, which is so weird.
This is the latest
Yeah.
Call of Duty's ever gone into the year without being shown. So when they announce it,
Oh, being shown is different, but usually we don't get a release date. Like Neo was saying, they've sort of started to announce the release date later and later.
They have.
Halo, you get one every 6 years. You know when it's coming, like miles away, and everybody steers clear. Now you got all these game releases coming out in the fall that don't know which week to avoid because they do not want to launch on the same week as Halo, especially if they're a shooter.
And then
So,
here comes Battlefield.
We've got Battlefield as well.
It's October, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see. But
That's
Alpha. It's alpha, man. I mean, I guess so was Halo.
no, I wouldn't even call it that. But
Dang. Ouch.
anyway, yeah, between Battlefield and Call of Duty, we think, you know, it was also coming later in the year. Call of Duty used to be an October boom, right? Like people would move out of the way. Call of Duty's landing in October. And last year, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it came out later than usual. I'm pretty sure it was in November because last year.
during
I
the
thought
normal
all the
Halo
CODs.
window.
I thought all the CODs were in November for the most part.
Yeah, you can double. I may be wrong, but
Yeah.
I swear it came out later last year.
I think Call of Duty has always been like October, and Halo usually comes out in November.
All right, let me
But
see.
that's-
Okay, so going off of, we'll just stick to like 2013. You know, just like that.
Weird.
Like
That's a
all
weird
the-
year to stick to.
yeah, like or like the past couple, like
Yeah,
like the last
obviously.
generation. Yeah.
2013, everybody knows that.
Yeah, all of them have been early November for the
Really?
most part. Yeah, early November, like that first second week of November. Yeah, like Black Ops 3 was November 5th. Infinite Warfare was November 4th.
Okay, so
Um,
first week November.
Yeah, Black
guess
Ops
it's that Black Friday
4. Well, here's the thing. Here's the outlier. Black Ops 4 was October.
Okay, so they and then I know Cold
This
War.
must be the one I'm
You
thinking
you
of.
mentioned this year's development's rocky too, because the whole Sledgehammer thing we won't get into
Yeah.
again, but the development cycle has kind of been shifted. So I don't know. I'm fully confident, and maybe I'm just saying this to please myself, but I'm fully confident Halo is still releasing this year. I've said all along I think it'll be the first week of December. Halo releases. I think they'll come after Call of Duty and Battlefield.
Really?
Yes, but also Halo multiplayer is free to play. And we know, I mean, having played that game a few weeks ago, it's ready. That game feels so good. Okay.
We don't know that it's ready. Game modes, there's maps, like there's a lot of
Man,
consideration.
Travis.
I don't know yet.
I know.
Just the slang.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
I love Halo. It's just like it worries me that we don't have a release date yet. I mean, Phil's talking, but like, where's the release date? I don't get it.
Nah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's coming.
All right.
It's coming.
There's a little bead of sweat rolling down Andy's.
Were you
Just a
saying
bit.
this last year too?
I did up until a point, yes. But then when they delayed it, I actually thought they would launch in the spring, so I was wrong about that. I
Yeah.
think they
Well,
delayed it a year.
last year we had a release date.
We did.
Yes, No, but I mean, when they delayed it, right, and they said it's not going to make 2020, I thought they would release in the spring. I didn't think they'd take a whole year, but obviously, I'm glad they have. So I'm
glad it did. It lines up with the anniversary too.
Yeah. I mean, you got 20-year anniversry. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming.
I believe you.
Say it again.
I said I believe you.
You don't care nearly as much, but
he just wants it to come out so that you'll stop talking about it on the show. Right. He's like, please.
Like there's at least a 3-month like buffer after it comes out that it's just going to be like all our thumbnails will be some kind of Halo related thing.
It'll be going to be Chief in different positions.
Yeah, it'll be like, problem. Oh, they just announced God of War, but then there's like a Master Chief helmet like
somewhere. You're gonna have one episode dedicated to the campaign, then multiplayer first impressions, then first drop, then this, then that.
Yeah. I think I should do the season gaming campaign review.
Let me check.
Yep.
Nope.
No.
All right.
That was all the effort I was going to put into that.
But besides, you're on the Valhalla DLC, so
that's true. That could take me until probably January.
Jesus.
So, fair enough.
Hey, you have to pay for that?
Yeah. No. The DLC?
Yeah.
No,
it's free.
It's paid DLC.
Pay for it. Yeah, we got.
Oh, okay. Dang. How much? Like $15? Please say $15.
It's the season pass is 30, I think.
Oh Jesus, Ubisoft.
Not they completely change the topic, but the other thing that annoys me with these too, because Ubisoft is big on their gold editions and ultimate editions, right? You get the game, you get the season pass ahead of time. So this second expansion that we've been joking about just came out. What was it, like 2 weeks ago, Dan?
The Paris one?
Yeah.
No, like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Yeah.
Just came out, right? The season pass that you pay full price for at launch, or you buy your gold edition or whatever, it's literally on sale right now on Xbox and PlayStation for like 35% off.
Dude,
so it's like you're not even releasing the expansion until your season pass goes on sale. Why would you ever buy it at launch?
I bought last year because I kind of wanted to get back into Assassin's Creed. I fizzled out after Syndicate. I enjoyed Syndicate, but that was like the last one I played. Right. So I didn't play Origins, I didn't play Odyssey, and I just asked people on Reddit. I was like, hey, which one should I get, Origins or Odyssey? Everyone for the most part said Odyssey. They had the gold edition. I think it was like $25. I think you got almost everything, 3 remastered and Liberations remastered. So I was like, for $25, 3 games, that's awesome. And then now I'm just sitting here just looking at all this content, and I'm just like, how much did this cost at launch? And I looked, and I was like, dude, people spent, like, when I bought it was in May. So 7 months prior, people spent like 3-4 times what I paid.
I think it was $120 for the Ultimate Edition.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah,
I was like,
crazy.
Wow. Yep. They depreciate quick.
They do.
Yeah. You know what's good though? They did give you like some Helix credits with the gold edition, just enough to not buy anything. You still needed to like purchase something to actually get anything. But shout out to Ubisoft.
Helix credits are the worst, man. I cannot believe Ubisoft gets away with microtransactions in a single player game. And they have a conflict of interest because they benefit by making the game more boring and tedious and adding more padding, because then they go, well, with Helix credits, if you pay us a little more, we'll give you double XP, we'll mark all this junk we put on the map for you, and we'll make the game less awful. All you have to do is pay extra money on top of buying it. So they have an incentive to make the game boring and grindy, and then pay you to take it out of the game. It's unreal. I can't believe Ubisoft gets away with that. People are like, oh, EA sucks, EA money is evil and all this stuff, and I'm like, bro, have you played a Ubisoft game? It's toxic in there. I cannot believe they get away with that.
I can't do, like, what happened to the days of the 20-hour Assassin's Creed campaigns? What happens to honestly turning it on? Like, I'm this tempted because I got Valhalla sent to me and I was playing it. I played through like the first couple hours. I'm like, what the, like, dude, like, I don't know if it was just me, but the sound effects were so compressed and just a whole bunch of other things in terms of its design. And I'm like, I'm gonna go fire up Brotherhood again. I'm good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's literally broken DLC. They have like these timed events now, and I started one. You go, like, some people come to your village and you do these things. Half of the dialogue is mouth, but there's no sound. So like you only get like really random parts of the conversation, and so you have no idea what to do. Then you have to pick what you have to respond with. I'm just like, What did she say?
Bro, how does this dude?
It's so bad.
But how does this series keep selling? Okay, at least with Call of Duty.
Odyssey and Origins are good games. The problem is that they're just stuffed full of just crud, and they make you pay extra money to take it out. And then your character, like, oh, it's supposed to be a historical reenactment, and your character's like on a unicorn with like breasts like the devil. And I'm just like, what is happening in this game? This game used to be like about like, you know, like
serious
it used to be
stuff.
grounded in history, and it just has gone kind of crazy. But I like those games. I just wish that they would focus on making like a good core experience that respects your time.
Yeah,
it doesn't make you like pay to make the game like balanced. Like it's like, oh yeah, like do you want to play this game twice as long, level up half as quickly? No, okay, $20.
Yeah.
What is that? Just design the game well the first time. It's such a conflict of interest.
I don't get it. Like, our younger, because this is what confuses me about the Assassin's Creed games, the newer ones, like with the length being so bloated. I'm looking at some games nowadays, and if I see like to complete the main story, it takes like over 50 hours. I look twice at it. Now, for certain games, I think it benefits if the story is really good and it's paced accordingly. But when I see something like Assassin's Creed, where the people who are like, yo, I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey, is it bloated for like 30 hours? Yes. But I'm like, what? 30 hours?
Yeah, how is that a footnote? After the first full day of your life playing this game, it gets really good. Like, what? Are you insane?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't. So for me, it's like I when I heard Sean Layden come out and say we need to go back to like those like 8 to 20 hour games, I was like, yeah. Thank you. Like main campaign 20 hours and then build everything else around it. I'm fine with that.
And you can do that again. I know Travis just said Witcher 3 did it really well, but you can build all that extra content for the people like me who will consume it, but you can still have a strong narrative in 15 to 20 hours. Like I don't know. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All that extra fluff of having to do like war encounters and sieges and Valhalla and all that stuff. I'm just like, what? Like,
games and now it's going to be games as a service is what they're building towards.
Yeah. And those sieges, they were all the same, right? I mean, you just land on the shore, you do some attack, you get the gold. It became very samey.
That's why kind of always had that problem where they make you repeat like world events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's literally one of the DLCs, the River Raids. It's the same thing over and over again.
And I didn't play it for that reason.
With a different currency, so you can use it in only a very specific store.
Are they Halex credits?
Dang.
No.
Hey Lex.
No.
Nice.
Hey Lex. Hey Lex.
They've got 16 different currencies in the game now. So I'm not even that might not be an exaggeration. Like every DLC has their own currency for certain shops. I don't even know how to explain it.
That's actually what I laughed at Avengers when I saw one of their events, because it was like, oh, if you log into Avengers this week, you get free this. And it was like 10 different currencies. And I think I went to Luke and I was like, the hell is this? Like, and he's like, yeah, you have to use different things to different. Oh, no, that's like free to play games. Those are free to play mobile design. So get that away from me.
I come from a world of Destiny where there's currencies that you use to buy other currencies.
I know. So it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. And here I am just in my little corner playing Final Fantasy 14, and I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay with this game.
Well, there you go.
That game also has a lot of currencies.
It does, but I'll say this much about Final Fantasy 14 because I got back into it. At least when I'm going on there, like my daily thing right now is like, if I'm not doing more story missions, I'm leveling up a different character class. And if not doing that, I'm just doing like dungeons with my friends. I feel like I'm getting something out of it with each play session. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like, okay, I'm leveling up my summoner right now. I do this dungeon and I leveled up 2 levels. And I'm like, okay, I'm closer to my goal. That's great. But then if I go over to something like, let's just say, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or if I play something like Avengers, I could play the game for an hour and I don't feel like I really did that much. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sense of accomplishment. It's not wasting your time.
The progression loop in Final Fantasy 14 is really tight, but don't pretend like it's not.
Oh no, I'm not.
Yeah,
it is an MMO.
Like that game. That game's barrier of entry is like, all right, we'll play through like hours and hours of content, learn tons of different systems and how they interact with people, and then it's fun. But
I'm not denying that. Like my boy just got into the game for the first time, and I said, "Listen, if you drop this game, I don't blame you because I'll be honest. The first Realm Reborn, Heaven's Word, boring, in my personal opinion. Like some of the story stuff is cool with characters, but boring. But when you start getting into the later stuff, the new dungeons, new character classes, that's where it's like awesome. But I totally agree. Like nobody has time to invest in those games. So if you want to, you get something out of it. If you don't and you complain about it, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those things where it's like, yes, you are right, but then I'm also right.
It's a great game, though. It's a great game.
Steve in the chat is a huge WoW player, and he's been telling us in the season gaming chat about he just recently started Final Fantasy 14. He's been loving it.
Oh, that's awesome, Steve. That's awesome. I just saw it pop up. I was like, 14.
It's a good game that I really respect and do not have time for, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's my problem. It's like I want to try it.
Made me play it.
Yeah, I want to try it, but I know I don't have the time to put into it.
It really is a time sink. There's a few games where I know if I started it, I would have to put aside time I don't have, and it's unfortunate. But Final Fantasy 14 is one of those. But still love the game. So
yeah, fair enough.
Everyone has one game. That's true.
Well, guys, it's been a blast. It's been a fun show. A lot of good topics. Chat, you've been great. Thank you so much. Neo, man, absolute pleasure having you on. Great conversation, great commentary. So thanks for coming on, man. I hope it won't be the last time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, it was nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was great. So why don't you tell people where they can find you, but your channel, everything else, man?
Yeah, of course. So my full YouTube channel name is Neo GameSpark. That's where you guys can subscribe for videos, streams, all that stuff. In addition to Twitter, that's the only social media outlet I really use. Like I have a Facebook that I haven't updated in like 40 years. And I have an Instagram, but that's just more like personal stuff. I don't really like, I post gaming stuff like, okay, here I'm playing 14, look at this, but it's not like Twitter because you can get more in touch with people and it's more intimate on Twitter, you know, just like another game that just released this week called Boyfriend Dungeon, which someone in the stream doesn't need to play. You can get pretty intimate with that one. But yeah, so all my social media outlets are at Neo GameSpark if you guys want to follow me. Thank you guys so much for having me on the show. This is by far the earliest podcast I've ever done, which I don't like for all the hard workers out there. They're like, I get up at 4 a.m. Why are you complaining about an 11 o'clock podcast? But seriously, truly, you guys are awesome. And if you ever want me back on the show, I'm 100% down. So thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Guys, anything you want to shout out before we head out of here?
You can follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis, and I've got a review of Recompile coming out next week on IGN.com, where you can read my articles and reviews.
Fantastic. Mr. Rodriguez, we'll see you here next week.
That's it. You got it.
We'll be expecting an update on Assassin's Creed Valhalla on our desk first thing Sunday morning.
I'll make sure his review February 2022.
I am going to review. I already it's halfway done. All of the DLCs at once, and just force feed it to you guys. It's really short.
Force it.
Sarcastics aside, that's actually not a bad idea because you could review like a season pass for a game, right?
Yes,
what is the value in this?
Yeah.
You can take a
to answer that question, there
photo
isn't
of your face so that we know how you changed as a person.
You look like a president who's aged 8 years. You know,
literally,
just a straight line afterwards. Lost the will to live.
That's going on the promo.
Oh, you know, he's gonna be like the guy from Breaking Bad, Dean Norris. Like, you know, there was that meme of him smiling and then with him frowning. That's gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Except the only difference is like before the DLC, he's frowning. After the DLC, he's still frowning.
He's still frowning.
It's gonna be that Matt Damon time lapse from Saving Private Ryan, where he's standing by the grave, look down, and it's Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed, and it's so bad.
It's like tell me I played a good game. Tell me I played a good game.
Oh man.
Well, guys, thanks, man. This has been a fun one. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If you're listening to this later, obviously, thank you and appreciate you. So that's it. We are getting out of here. We will see you next Sunday morning, as always. Until then, have a good week. Peace.
Peace.